Hello everyone, today in this video I'll be painting with acrylic paints in my Moleskine sketchbook. This is a medium size sketchbook and the paper is roughly around 160 GSM. So it is thick paper, but it's obviously not as thick as the watercolor sketchbooks. And for the beginning of this spread, I started sketching everything with a mechanical pencil. So initially, whenever I'm sketching, I really like to just scribble a lot of loose lines and just like make it super messy. This is not just for, trying to draw the characters, but more so to try to map out how much space I need on the page so that I can ensure that none of the characters kind of like fall off the page, like arm doesn't like go out the page, but everything's within these borders of the sketchbook. And then also whenever like characters are overlapping each other, I want to ensure that the characters don't cover each other up or hide one another. So those are just some of the things that I think about as I'm sketching initially. Then with the Moleskine sketchbook, the pages are actually kind of like tall and narrow. They're more narrow than what I'm used to. So that is something else that I'm still trying to feel for and try to get used to that as well. Then for once I get the shapes and map out each of the shapes, then I'll like go back and kind of pick and choose whichever lines that I like. So I will make the lines that I like darker and go over it more times, maybe kind of make it thicker so that it stands out more onto the page. That's what I like about using pencils, is that you can really vary the lines, the contrast, the shading. There's like so much you can do with just using like the pencil. And then today I decided to use a mechanical pencil. Now usually what I use is just like a sketching graphic pencil, a graphite pencil, not a graphic pencil. So it's those like pencils that have like a range of softness to lightness. So like I usually used to use HB and 6B and alternate between those light and dark pencil. But for this one, I wanted to use a mechanical pencil, mainly because I was just too lazy to keep sharpening my pencils in between the drawings. Like every time I would draw, I had to like go find my sharpener and sharpen the pencil midway. So that would really break my flow whenever I'm drawing. And so in order to prevent that, I just decided to do everything with this mechanical pencil, because it's like a fine point. So that I can really get those fine lines. I really like using the sketching pencils, the traditional pencils. But yeah, sharpening is just one downfall to them, that they become dull pretty quickly. I mean, dull pencils are actually pretty great for the initial sketches where it's pretty rough and you're just trying to understand the main shapes. But then for the finer lines, I really prefer like a fine point tip. So yeah. So then for these drawings over here, yeah, sometimes I draw right off the screen and I don't notice. I apologize for that. But for these drawings, what I like to focus on mainly is the faces. And I like to put the most time and energy whenever I'm drawing those faces, because I think that is the most important part of the drawing personally, especially because that really brings out the characters. And especially like when you're doing facial expressions, it's just something that the viewer will connect with, right? And for these ones, I actually just created a very simple expression on all of these. So it's just kind of like a basic, like a Mona Lisa smile on all of these characters. But yeah, I like to spend the most time on the face. Then for the outfits, one of my goals for this year is to create unique outfits. And so what happens is that whenever I'm drawing, And I'm like drawing, whenever I'm drawing from my mind or my imagination specifically, what I do is I just draw the default outfits, like for example just like a t-shirt or jeans, like just a basic white t-shirt and jeans. So that, I really want to experiment and create more interesting outfits. So one thing I was thinking about doing is just study reference photos, and not just like study them, but actually look at the details of each outfit. So like really study like how the seams look on the clothing, or like how the material flows on the character, or another thing like how the colors work on that outfit. So like rather than drawing like a basic solid color t-shirt, maybe try drawing like a graphic t-shirt and adding more details, more patterns, just to make the outfit more, what's the word I'm looking for, realistic, and also more unique and interesting. That's one thing I want to work on. And then also I have the same issue with colors. Whenever I'm selecting colors, if I don't have a goal or a plan in advance, I have a tendency to just pick the same colors over and over again. So that's for me, those colors are like pink and blue, or like any pastel colors. Those are like my safe colors, my happy colors. So I really want to try going into like the bold color space and just try some bold, vibrant colors and see like what I can create. But yeah, those are just some of the goals that I have for this year. Then here, I believe I started inking the drawing with the fine liner. Now, I really only have one fine liner, of one size. So this is like the only size that I have. I think it's a little bit too narrow. The lines are too thin for me. I wish it was thicker, or I have like a variety of fine liners so that I could really change up the line widths. I do have a brush pen, but I feel like the fine liner is very thin line and then the brush pen is too thick. So I want something in between there, those two widths. I can really play around with it. Right now in the video, it looks like the lines are thicker. That's only because the pencil is underneath it, right? But once I erase everything, it makes the lines turn out to be very, very thin. So yeah, I want to look into that more and see what else is out there, like what other tools are out there. Then I'm just outlining all the other details here and ensuring that I get everything. And then here I actually I don't know if you guys saw that, but I drew like a purse because I thought that character, the arm was kind of awkward just on the knee. So I added that purse so that character can hold on to it and makes it look more natural. So that was a last minute addition. Then here I'm just drawing this character and adding all the different lines. The reason that I am inking everything with the fine liner rather than my brush pen is that the fine liner doesn't really smear as much as the brush pen. So like when I color with the acrylic paint, the fine liners, they do bleed a little bit, but not as bad as the brush pens do. So yeah, but whenever I'm using the acrylic paint with these fine liners, I have to ensure that I don't really go over them that much. So one way I do that is I kind of, whenever I'm painting a shape in particular, I always like kind of start in the middle of a shape. So like, for example, if I were to color in this face right here, I would start maybe at the cheek. So I would put that brush on the cheek area, and kind of with that excess paint on my brush, I kind of then push the paint from the middle to the outside corners of that specific shape, if that makes sense, so that I don't have excess paint on my brush when I'm pushing it closer to the line, so that none of the paint will go over that fine liner line, if that makes sense. But yeah, that that's something that I always have to think about whenever I'm painting. Just make sure I don't go over the lines. I mean, it's not a huge deal if it goes over, because these are all pastel paints, so they're pretty light. And the fine liner will show through anyways. But then I just have to make sure that I remember to go back and go over some of those lines that have been covered up. But yeah, so for my next drawing, what I'm thinking about doing, I just want to experiment. I'm just in the thinking process. So I think I'm going to just skip over the fine liner step and just go directly from the pencil to the acrylic paint and see, would that be easier for me to do? I don't know, because the pencil will be pretty light, so I don't know if these shapes will be that defined. That's the only issue. That's the thing that I like about the fine liner, is that you can really see where the shapes start and end, and the characters really show through. But yeah, that's something that I'm thinking about. Then for these colors here, I just selected some, around 4 colors. These pinks, blues, yellow, and I think a green color. And what I did with all of these colors, I added a little brown to them, so that it kind of became muted, all of these colors. And I don't really know if I like that shade or not. I would kind of wish that they were more vibrant. So maybe next time I will add more pigment to the white paint that I'm using and see, would that help or not. But yeah, that's also something that I want to think about. Then for this entire painting process, if you notice, in the video, it's pretty dark. And the lighting change. That's because I was doing this all in the nighttime, so all the light that's coming through is from my lamp. Versus when I was sketching, it was during the daytime, so natural light was coming in through. But yeah, this entire drawing, I did it in different parts of the day, so that's why there's such a change in lighting. Yeah, I would say this entire spread was kind of ambitious because there were lots of moving parts to it, and I honestly didn't know if I would be able to finish it. I'm the kind of person that, if there's a sketch that is unfinished, it will just bother me, It would just be going in my mind the entire day, oh, you have a sketch that is just sitting there in your sketchbook that's unfinished. And I haven't always been like this, there was a time where I would have so many unfinished illustrations, but I just made it a goal to always finish my drawings. Now I'm the complete opposite. Now I have the problem where it's if I don't finish a drawing, it just bothers me, It's kind of if you're listening to music or someone play the piano and they're playing the scales and they just leave out the last note of the scale, the last 8th note, and you're just sitting there just waiting for that note. It's kind of like that. So for me, if there is a drawing in my sketchbook that's not finished, I just constantly think about it. Yeah, so that's for me for this drawing. I was no, I need to make sure that I complete all the parts to it and make sure that everything is completed, so at least that I have a peace of mind. Yeah, but I don't know if that's really healthy or not. But anyways, so I'm just painting all of this. I didn't actually have a plan or a goal for each of where the colors would be. I was just picking and choosing as I went, which is unusual for me. Usually I have colors in mind of what I want to use, but this one I was just winging it. Oh, and then for the background, I added stars. It's these blue stars. They can pull in the same blue color from the left side, just to pull in both the sides of the page and make it more cohesive. But yeah, then I just go back in with a brush liner, pull out the characters from the background, make them stand out and pop more from the page. But yeah, that completes this drawing. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next one.